we want to make sure that we are appealing to our audience and giving you what it is that you need to be well informed regarding the DDA process. Today is very exciting because we have our very own CCS who will be doing the presentation of the self-direction process. This is the first time a CCS has presented in this platform, so I am very, very excited about this opportunity, and I will allow her to introduce herself in just a moment. Before we move to Fatima, introducing herself and delivering the presentation, I do want to introduce to you guys the leadership team for DDA that is on the call. Our Southern and Eastern Shore team manager, Sally, is on PTO, as well as our program manager, Kiana. So they're not here to join us today. I will turn it over to Sharon to introduce herself.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I am so glad that I could make it here with you guys. I am Sharon Miller. I am one of the team managers, working with the Peacock team. So if you ever hear someone say Peacocks, that's me from the Peacock team. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sharon. So I don't think I formally introduced myself. My name is Sherelle Towns. I am the CCS director. So, if you're unable to ever reach out and contact the team managers, I am available, as well as Kiana, who is absent today. So we'll go over what's going to happen over the next 40-ish minutes. Fatima will deliver the presentation after she introduces herself, and then we will open it up to any questions the audience may have on the presentation or any additional information you want clarity about regarding any processes for DDA. Once that is over, if there is opportunity at the end of the meeting, we will then move to providers to introduce yourselves as a provider. In that time, we're asking for just something quick, short, sweet, to the point, to let the audience know, what your agency name is, what area you service, and what services you provide. And then you can also drop your contact information for your agency as well as any brochures in the chat. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Fatima.
Thank you so much, Sherelle. And as you said, I am a CCS too, and this is going to be my first time presenting, so bear with me. Little nervous, but just bear with me. So my name is Fatoumata Samate, so I do go by Fatima. We can start. Next slide, Heidi. So this session is about self-direction. So we've seen more and more families requesting to have their services delivered through self-direction. So by the end of this section, the goal is for each and everyone in this platform would understand more about self-direction, understand the processes, the steps, timelines, and creating and submitting a person-centered plan, and also understand all the tasks involved in each step through the first self-direction process, and also the FMCS agencies and their role. Next slide. And also, if I'm talking a little too fast, just let me know so to slow down, okay? Because I know I've been known to talk a little fast. Well, so the self-direction model of services is also known as the consumer direction or participant direction. What it does is it gives the participant the freedom to choose the services and the people that supports the individual in their community and also in their homes. So the core foundation for the self-direction is choice and control. So what self-direction does is gives the participant and their family control over, a little bit of more control than the traditional model of services. So you do have the control over the budget, the finances, pay rate, and also the staff that works for the participant. Next slide. So this is the difference between self-direction and traditional. With self-direction, the participant is the employer. So together with the family, just like I said before, you do have control over the services, the staffs being hired, the budget, how the funds are being utilized. So traditionally, the difference between traditional and self-direction, in the traditional model, a DDA licensed provider is going to be listed as the provider. So they're going to be the one hiring staffs, to work with their participant having DDA services. So that's the difference between self-direction and traditional. Self-direction, the family and the participants have control over the staffing, the budgeting, and all that involved, whilst traditional, a DDA licensed provider is the employer on record, and they're going to be the one providing staffing with staffing and also budgeting on how their services are going to be delivered. Next slide. So the roles and responsibilities expected from the participant or their family member. They're going to be responsible for recruiting their staffs, hiring, training, supervision for staffs and also providers. You do have the opportunity to hire providers on the self-direction, but they're going to come in as a vendor. So the self-direct participants also have the opportunity to do that, and you're going to be responsible for supervising them. And also you're going to develop, together with your CCS, CCS is going to help you to develop the budget, manage it, and you're going to be the one to have the budget authority. The next responsibility to work with your CCS to also develop a person-centered plan, develop a comprehensive schedule of how many hours you're going to need for services and also what those hours are going to be utilized for. So this is going to be the responsibility of our participants and their family together with the help of their CCS. Next slide. So this is the rules and responsibilities for family. So we're gonna because families are the advocates for for the participants. So we want you to be part of this meeting, crucial, important meeting. So you're gonna share ideas about the individual, their services they're gonna need, their hours. You offer perspective because we don't know them as much as you know them. So you're gonna advocate on their behalf and make sure that the services they requested is what they need, and also they have the services that they requested based on their needs. Assist in finding resources in the community. We're gonna assist in also finding employers and vendors to work in delivering the services that is needed, and also support in this discovery and exploration of new community development options and opportunities. So family members, that's the task gonna be given to you when you choose for your participant to go through self-direction. Next slide, please. So the supports broker, it is not a requirement, but it's highly recommended for people to have a support broker when they choose to have their services delivered through self-direction, because the support broker is going to be responsible to coach and mentor participants in their roles as an employee and so the support broker is also going to assist you in finding employees, manage staff, to advertise the role, interview staff, schedule, and train, evaluate, and handles employee concerns. The support broker is going to also help to determine if the staff you providing services as intended. So, and also they're going to review employees' timesheet and submit them to the FMCSs on time. So it is not a requirement, but it's highly recommended, especially those people coming to self-direction for the first time. So we're going to advise you to choose a support broker that's going to help you with all this task. Next slide, please. So the CCSs, this is us. Every individual participant in DDA has a CCS. So what we're going to do, we're going to assist you and the family in learning and gaining access to resources in the community that the individual is eligible for. We're also going to support in developing a person-centered plan and also manage their self-directed budget. So this CCS is going to be with you from the beginning to the end, and this is going to be our role. Next slide, please. So the FMCS, also called the Financial Management and Counseling Services, they played a crucial role in the self-direction because DDA, even in self-direction, the participant is the employer. So with that being said, DDA, unfortunately, is not going to give the funds to the participant to be paying directly the staff. So that's where the FMCS comes in. The funds are gonna be the funds approved for the services are gonna be managed by the FMCS. So what the FMCS is going to do is going to also assist to ensure that each staff working for the particular participant have the qualification. They're going to also help in ensuring that they have the training, and they're going to send reminders if those trainings are being expired. They're going to do the accounting for you. They're going to do the payroll, and they're going to be deducting taxes for each employee. So that's going to be one of the most important rules for the FMCS. The next thing they're going to do also, they're going to make sure that the vendors you're also hiring also meet the same requirement as the staff. They also they remind participants to ensure that the employee the certifications are met and when they need to be renewed. And they also report monthly and financial statement to the participants to keep track of their spending. And just as I said earlier, they're also going to do the tax and they're going to report the participants' tax information to the IRS. So that is the role of the FMCS. So they are very, very important. They're going to be doing the payrolls and all that for you, okay? Instead of the participant doing it for themselves, the FMCS is going to take on the role. Next slide, please. So we do have 3 different FMCS agencies, which self-directed participants have the options to choose. So the self-directed participants can be on the community supports waiver, family supports waiver, and the community pathway waiver. So the 3 companies are the GTI. GTI, unfortunately, is not accepting new participants at this time. So you do have 2 more options to choose from. We have public partnership and the Arc of Central Chesapeake. They are accepting referrals at this time. So you have the options to choose which one you want to go with. Next slide, please. So this is the PCP planning process for self-direction. So we would want to start the planning process 120 to 90 days before the annual PCP is due. So what the CCS will do, we will contact the family to schedule the pre-planning meeting with you, determine who the individuals want to include in the pre-planning meeting, schedule the meeting and identify those people, and facilitate the pre-planning meeting. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna review the previous PCP that we have on file, and we're gonna go over the hours, the services, the goals, and all that important itsy-bitsy details. And what we're also gonna do is, which is also a very important thing, is a HRST, which is gonna be done. HRST, what it does is it measure the level of care the person needs from 1 to 6. 1 meaning that the person is pretty independent, 6 meaning that the person is very dependent and needs a whole lot of help than other people. So we're gonna go that with we're gonna do that with you. We're gonna talk about the outcomes and the goals, and we're also gonna talk about the needs and also draft the PCP and also the budget. And we're also gonna help to create a schedule to go with that PCP to be sent to DDA for review. So that's what the pre-planning PCP meeting entails. So next slide. So when we got at all that information, the PCP is being done, goals being discussed, schedule, the hours, and the services is identified. Once all that is finalized, what we do, we're gonna submit that PCP and the self-direction participant form and other required forms that need to be completed. We're gonna send that, upload it to LTSS and also send it to DDA for approval. So DDA is gonna review it to ensure that based on the information in there and the services being requested, the participant is eligible for those services. So one of those services that we've seen a lot of some self-directed participant requesting is a one-on-one services, personal support enhanced, and all that. So if you feel like your participant or your family member is eligible for that, go ahead and request it, but it's just going to require additional justification from us to present to DDA. So they actually ask for two things: the behavior support, the behavior plan, or the nursing care plan, whichever one you have. So it's going to detail the need of the person to get the personal support in hand, or the one-on-one support, or overnight support. Those are the two justifications required from a participant for them to have the enhanced support or the one-on-one or awake overnight. Next slide, please. So the budgeting meeting. So we like to do the budgeting meeting after the plan is approved. Reason being because sometimes we might request services and DDA, the plan comes up with a specific amount, but by the end of the plan being approved, DDA might look at it and be like, okay, this person does not qualify for this one. Let's take that out. So, or increase this thing or take it out. So by the end of the day, the funds being allocated, the number change. So we want to wait until the plan is being approved so we can have this budget meeting. With that being done, family members, we want them to be part of it. So when we do this budget meeting, we can talk about the staff, their rates, the services being approved, how many hours is each staff going to be doing, and most importantly, how much are they getting paid? So which is going to be very important in this budget meeting. So another thing is once the budget sheet is being developed and approved by the participant and family members, then we send an email to the FMCS, emailing the approved plan and also the approved budget to them, which is what they're going to be used to be paying the staff subsequent for that 12-month plan year. Next slide, please. So, budget modifications. Yes, in the middle of the plan year, you do have the right to change the budget. So, these are the approved reasons for budget modifications. So oftentimes we do have family members asking for us to do a budget modification. Unfortunately, sometimes we send it to DDA. Every budget modification now have to be approved by DDA. And sometimes when we send it, DDA will return it and said, this is not one of the reasons why a budget needs to be modified. So these are one of the reasons why somebody should request a budget modification. If you are increasing or decreasing a staff wages or a vendor provider rates. DDA also have a guideline of how much these staffs need to be paid, and within this reasonable customary standard, you can change the rates, decrease or increase it. And also another reason is when you're adding or increasing or deleting an employee-related benefit, adjusting funding associated with taxes, changing the use of staff to vendor means provider, for the same type of units and services, increasing respite camp funding up to the waiver program limit, which is $7,248. You can also modify a budget by moving funds associated with ongoing job support, CDS, supports broker, personal support, and day program up to the approved amount per week. So what that means is if, for instance, in the beginning of the year, let's say, for example, hypothetically, a vendor is being paid 62 hours, but $62 per hour, but DDA allows up to 68. So in the middle of the year, if you want to increase it to 48 and there is enough money in the allocated fund, you can go ahead and do that as long as it's not beyond the customary reasonable rate. You can do budget modification for that reason. So another reason is when you adding, increasing, decreasing, or deleting individual goods and family services, you can go ahead and do that. Staff recruitment, we have state allocate $500 for that in a plan year. That will give you an opportunity to advertise the positions at any website that we have Indeed and all that. So you have $500 for that to advertise the position. And also when you increasing, adding or decreasing an IFDJ, which is individual goods and services. So these are the 8 reasons DDA allowed us for us to be able to modify a budget in the middle of a plan year. Next slide, please. So this is one of the most important parts for every self-directed participant to understand. Oftentimes, many reasons I've seen for families requesting a budget modification is to move unallocated funds to a service that they already have. They do not allow that. They do not allow that. Even though this place says personal support unallocated funds may not be used to increase the number of units in personal support, but it's in all services, whether it's CDS, personal support, and all that. So the better way to explain that is, if in the beginning of the year, you are in the pre-planning PCP meeting or PCP development with your CCS, and you told your CCS, we need 60 hours of personal support a week. So the CCS is gonna request 60 hours of personal support from DDA, and DDA is gonna allocate 60 hours of personal support funds, and that's what's gonna be on the budget. So if that got depleted for whatever reason, and I'm gonna emphasize that part, DDA is gonna allocate 60 hours of funds per week. That does not include overtime. Labor law say that if somebody works 40 hours and above, you have to pay them time and a half. That's not a DDA law, that's a labor law. So if you have 60 hours of personal support and you have 30 hours of CDS, or 40 hours of CDS, that's 100 hours. You're gonna need at least three staffs to work those hours without going over the limit of 40 hours per week. If you have less than 3 hours, three staffs, and you are working the full hour, guess what? Someone is getting paid time and a half. And what that will do is, by the time you get to the 9th month of the year, the funds will be depleted. There will be no more funds to pay on these services. So when that happens, we do have families, because if you have unallocated fund, they want the unallocated fund to be transferred to a particular line item. When that happens, DDA will say no, because the number of hours you've requested, you've got enough funding to last for 12 months. So it shouldn't be depleted 12 weeks or 15 weeks prior to that a plan being ended. So this is very, very important. So just want to emphasize this part, because we hate it when families don't understand that part. At the end of the day, 9 months into the plan, because these are staffs, they have bills to pay. Sometimes family members are their own staffs and they have bills to pay. We end up finding ourselves in a situation where they're not getting paycheck, and that would be a very, very bad thing to happen to anybody. So please, 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 let's not do that. Let's not do overtime. Make sure that you have enough staff enrolled that could pick up the extra shifts if available. Okay? Next slide, please. So these are some helpful resources, links to helpful resources on YouTube that will help you if you need some better understanding of self-direction budget sheet, and it will also walk you through and also budget modifications. So I think the next part is the questions part. Any question?
I've went ahead and added those YouTube videos to the chat.
Okay. And one more thing we did mention, the nursing care plan and also the behavior support plan being used to justify their personal support enhanced a week overnight and also the 101. It is not an automatic approval if you have a behavior plan. They have to meet certain threshold before they can approve it. The staff, it has to have a detailed explanation of what the staff is doing, which is beyond what a regular staff will be doing due to the behavior in the participant's health or behavior needs. So sometimes we do have family members coming up with a behavior plan and having that understanding or thinking because they have a behavior plan, therefore they're gonna have personal support enhanced and all that. No, DDA have their own review team that would review and analyze that behavior plan to ensure that it meets the threshold or the nursing care plan. So also have that bear in mind. Having a behavior plan and a nursing care plan does not automatically means that you're going to have those services. One person have their hand raised up. Ms. Davis?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for calling on me, and thank you for the presentation. It was very, very informative. A question that I had was, I recently saw an email from DDA, and my service was in and out, so I'm not sure if you were able to address this already, and I just didn't get a chance to catch it. But DDA sent out an email saying something about self-directed services is put on hold for now. Were you able to talk about that? Did I miss anything about that, or do you have any more information on that?
So services have not been placed on hold. The language is that there's a delay in enrollment for self-directed. So it's not being placed on hold. You do still have the right to enroll in self-directed services if that's what you choose is best for the loved one that you support. It's just a delay in that enrollment. So to remedy that, DDA has advised that if you need to go ahead and enroll into services more urgently, then maybe considering the traditional model, using traditional providers, and then moving to self-directed once you're up and running with the traditional.
Okay, so just a follow-up question to clarify, does that mean that it's like a waiting list pretty much to enroll, and do we have a time frame on that?
I love your thinking and wanting to know more. I did the same thing, and it is very gray. The response that I got is that, the it's a lot of people enrolling in self-directed, more than what staffing can support as quickly as they would love to do those turnovers and to make sure that they are thoroughly reviewing and setting everyone up for success. It's just taking a little bit more time to navigate through all of the pieces for self-directed. We do not have a time frame on the delay, and it's not considered a wait list at all. It's just getting through all of the additional paperwork. That's a little different than traditional to make sure that you are completely set up and ready for the self-directed model.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Lakari Dawson? Hopefully I'm saying it right.
Ms. LaCarrie, thank you. So I have a question in reference to the enhanced supports. I've been looking and taking a deeper dive at it. And when it looks for the qualifications of enhanced support, it's just like you said, it says something about the HSRT score or basically having a behavior plan. But then it doesn't get in detail to what that truly looks like. So do you have any examples of, I guess, past things that have been approved for under enhanced supports needing the need of a one-to-one, or just examples for us on how that looks?
So there are, first of you mentioned HRST before January 1st of this year. They were using HRST score. The reason why that is not a waiver application, the waiver guideline, the reason they were doing it, that was based on the COVID guidelines. So starting January 1st of 2024, those COVID guidelines ended. So DDA moved to the waiver guidelines of requiring service eligibility to services. Okay, so now self-direction as it is seen as a one-on-one by default because one staff is working with one individual. That's how DDA see self-direction. Is a one-to-one by default. So with that being said, if a participant is asked requesting an enhanced support or requesting a one-to-one services, they now want to see a detail, not just a mere behavior plan just saying, oh, this individual hits, so therefore staff needs a man training, which teaches you how to maneuver certain things and how to do prevention. No, no, no. They want to see something beyond that. Just like I said earlier, self-direction is a one-to-one by default. So if you want these services, you have to have something beyond detailed in their nursing care plan and also behavior plan that's like a regular staff or regular participants with behavior such as maybe punching or
Logan or
leading,
something like
beyond
that.
all that. I don't know
Mhm.
whether you understand what I'm saying. So it has to be beyond what the man training and all that address. So that's when you can get. So far, this is not to discourage anybody, but so far from January 1st, all the plans I have sent, DDA hasn't approved any enhanced support. No nursing care plan or behavior plan have met that standard yet. That doesn't mean that in the future it's not going to happen. And just like I said, this is not to discourage anybody. We just want the families to understand. That's how DDA is now looking at this eligibility to enhance support on one-on-one.
You know, I noticed that, and the hard thing is for us on this side, trying to get it, it's like it's no clear cut guidelines to what it is, because it's like before, like we were saying before the COVID, it was the HSR, or if someone needed a CMT to give medication. But like you're saying, they're going back to the default. So I'm just like, they keep on asking for exceptions and you keep on giving like reasons, but it's like you said, nothing is being approved. Okay.
Yes, I think the thing is, there's a rule, but unfortunately, it's not like a one fit a rule that fits for all. So so every individual's needs is different. So if you feel like your participant or your family member definitely needs it, they just need a documentation that would clearly detail what that staff is going to be doing hourly for them to have this kind of support. So yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any questions?
Yeah, you kind of have to think about it, sort of like how they do in court, where you have to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
It's that same way, because there has to be so overwhelming with supporting documentation to say, okay, yes, this person definitely meets the criteria for enhanced rates. Because like Fatima said, it is already by default a one-to-one service. So you're looking at the fact that it's enhanced rates to support that service. That always helps me to think about it as beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, it takes a lot of justification as it was before. So I know it's not been easy for families who used to have enhanced for 2-3 years. All of a sudden, DDA is saying you can't no more. It's because perhaps if they were going by their guidelines, the DDA guidelines, maybe they might not even get it. But because at that time, a lot of rules were relaxed because COVID was happening. It was chaotic and families are having hard time getting staffs and all that. So all those rules got into place. But starting January 1st, everything ended. So they went back to waiver guidelines. Any more questions? Okay, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Fatima. You did amazing. And we cannot tell it all that you were nervous. Greatly appreciated. You are a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for sharing that with the team today, and our audience members today. We do have one question in the chat. Oh, just somebody saying thank you to something I was probably responding. Oh, to what you were just saying. So I guess if there are no further questions, or while people are thinking, we can go ahead and have a provider to introduce themselves. While the provider is introducing themselves, if you do have a question and you feel more comfortable with entering in the chat, please do utilize the chat, because we will I'm viewing or watching the chat for any questions in the chat, and then can present it to Fatima. Do we have one provider who would like to take a couple seconds to briefly introduce yourself and your agency?
I can.
Thank you.
My name is Casey with No Place Like Home Service Group. We cover Central Region and beyond. Recently, we moved into Prince George's County, Howard County, as well as Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and parts of Anne Arundel County. We primarily provide meaningful day services, CDS, employment services, although we do have a large residential component. We are doing a big push for housing supports and supported living. And we have a bunch of units, residential, community living group homes in the Woodlawn area, as well as we just opened one in Towson. We provide a bunch of respite care in and around the Beltway as well. And we think we're fantastic. So we'd love to work with you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'll give a quick pause just in case someone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question. Okay, I'll take another provider.
Yes, my name is Tosin from Daylight Healthcare Services. We have DDA as a DDA. We provide residential services and personal support, and we have homes in voicemail presently that are ready to move in. Our head office is Towson as well, and we provide services for Central Region. Again, our number is 667. Go to write down 352 6230 667 352 6230. Thank you.
It would be great if you can just put that number in the chat for anyone who didn't catch it. Thank you so much. I can take another provider who's on the call.
I'll go. My name is Veronica Johnson. Good morning, everyone. I work for Life Incorporated. We've been in existence for 40 years now. Well, 41 now. We provide adult medical day services. We provide meaningful day CDS and employment services. We also have a residential component to our program, and they also provide respite. We service Baltimore City, Baltimore County, the surrounding areas around here, Howard County, up near Dundalk. Our meaningful day has 2 sites, one in Baltimore City and one in PG area. Thank you.
If you can just drop contact information, website, brochure into the chat, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Do I have any other questions or any clarity needed around DDA services, what was presented before I move to another provider?
There is one question in the chat. I think it was sent to me. It was, is there a due date for submitting the budget for current years?
Is there a due date for submitting the budget for current years?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Fatima.
Okay. So if it is a annual plan, so when the plan is approved, you wanna send the budget as soon as possible. So as for me, when the plan is submitted, I do want to create a draft to have an idea. Because at the end of the day, when the plan is, that's why we want to work on the plan 120 to 90 days, because that will give us enough ample opportunity. When the plan is approved, you have a little bit of time to work on the budget before the effective date of the plan. So FMCS definitely need to have that budget prior to the effective date. If could be like 3-4 weeks prior to the effective date, that would even be better, because that would help them for them also to do their enrollment processes and put everything in their system before the effective date of the plan. So the sooner we start this process, the better it is. So us also as a CCS, sometimes we do contact family members. One of the barriers is when we contact family members, sometimes we don't get the response in time as we would like to. So what that does is it delays the whole entire process. So yes, we would want to do this as early as possible so that the plan can be approved, give us ample of time to work on the budget and send it to DDA at time. So is there an effective due date ideally, we want to do that a month before the plan goes into effect.
Thank you, Fatima. That was a very thorough explanation. I hope that answered your question. If you have any other follow-up questions to that. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take a provider.
Good morning, everyone.
Sorry.
You can go, Miss Tiffany. I'll wait.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. My name is Tiffany Cross, and I'm an advocate for exclusive healthcare. And we currently provide personal supports, residential services, and CDS. We're a very new provider, and we're very small right now, but we're looking forward, to the opportunity to continue to provide services that are quality, meaningful, to all the persons that we support. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Tiffany. And again, if you can drop your contact information for your agency website. Oh, you just did it. Thank you. Ms. Davis, you can go ahead.
All righty.
Thank you. I'm here. My name is Sade Davis, and I am representing Faith Clinical Care. Faith Clinical Care is a fairly new provider. We've been around for about 5 years now. We serve in the central area right now. We have residential services that are in Windsor Mill. Also, we're in Gaithersburg, and we have another one in Glen Burnie. To provide services for community living group home. As far as the other DDA services that we offer employment services, CDS, personal support. We also do respite care, nursing support, and any remote support services. We're able to provide that as well. We're pushing into PG County area right now. We're open to moving into the southern region, and I'll go ahead and drop all of the contact information in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have any? Go ahead, Fatima.
One thing I want to say to providers, I know this is a self-directed, the topic is on self-directed, but sometimes we do have family participants who would want providers to come in as a vendor to deliver some of these services, especially CDS. So when we have that, as a CCS, we do have challenges getting a provider that will come in as a vendor. We do know that like sometimes the FMCS, the payment issue, that would be the reason for most providers, but we would love for you guys to kind of like accommodate these families who will want to hire a vendor to provide services for their participants. That would be great. So if you are accepting referrals as a vendor for self-directed, please let us know so that we can put you in mind when a family member comes to us asking for a vendor to deliver the services. We would really, really appreciate it because we do face a lot of challenges getting a provider that would come in as a vendor.
I also got a question. It says, are these agencies taking funding SD as a vendor?
Wow.
That's what she just spoke to.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We was asking the same question at the same time. So I was
But I know
typing
we
and she
do.
was
Sometimes
asking.
I go through a hard time getting a provider that will come in as a
Me
self-directed
too. So
vendor.
we was asking the same questions at the same time.
Yeah, sorry to chime in. That was the one question I had in the chat because most providers, we get these inquiries about self-directed, but we have no idea what the compliance is from the vendor perspective. So that's why I asked that. So I'll reach out to Central and see any information I get. I'll put it in the chat for the next one. Because most of us we shy away from it because we don't know, and you don't want to start a service and not be able to be in compliance. That's kind of the issue with most providers who've never done it.
Well, I would definitely suggest reaching out and talking to the different regions and gaining as much, knowledge about it, because we can definitely use additional people to add to the pool for self-directed. That's one issue, as Fatima was saying, that CCS is running into quite a bit. So, yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. But we do offer services as a vendor, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it in your presentation, Fatima. But I know that there are certain services that only a vendor can do. Like when it comes to employment services, like the family member can't go out and get. It has to be somebody that's DDA verified and certified to provide those services. So when it comes to no employment services. And I want to say probably behavior support as well. Those are two I know for sure where they couldn't just hire just anybody. They would have to come and contact somebody like us, Faith Clinical Care, or any of the other lovely providers, and get that service provided as a vendor.
Thanks,
CDS is what we use usually because just like we said, self-direction is one-to-one by default. So CDS will give them a participant an opportunity to kind of like interact with other individuals outside in the community to have like that group activities. So if any participant is looking for a group activity, it has to go through a vendor with a provider. So if you guys can add CDS in there, that'll be great. And also personal support, because some people do have staffing challenges and they want a vendor for that. Yes.
Do we have any other questions regarding DDA services, processes? Heidi, anything in your chat?
Good question. No.
Okay. I do want to throw a plug out there for anyone who is supporting a transition youth. We are up on transition youth season again. And there are a lot of transitioning youth fairs being scheduled. So I would advise, even if this is not your loved one or the person you support transition year, go to the transition youth fairs and start familiarizing yourself with the services being offered, the CCS agencies, and just the process in whole, so that when you do go through your transition year, you know what to expect. Those transition youth fairs offer a lot of information, and it's an opportunity for you to meet various providers within the area that the transition youth fairs are being held in. Also, to throw a plug out there with Medicaid redeterminations for anyone, once again, who is supporting a person who receives medical assistance, make sure you're checking your MD Think account and checking it frequently for any communications about your redetermination. A lot of redeterminations are being missed because of timeliness in checking that MD Think account. So please make sure you are frequently in and out of it. And then for providers, if you're working with anyone, just kind of putting that plug in your family's ears to make sure that they are frequently checking their MD Think accounts. We just want to make sure we're advocating that they do not lose their MA, because if they lose their MA, we know that they lose their services. And we don't want that to happen. We want everyone to be able to achieve their aspirations in their communities. Anna, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm also a provider, so I wanted
to go ahead. Yes.
So I offer a little different service. I am a genetic counselor, but I really focus on the counseling aspect of genetic counseling. So I know many families have already seen a genetic counselor to order their testing. And I really kind of focus on the back end of that. You have your testing, it's negative, it's positive. And what do I do with that? And how do I process through it? And my company is called Living Well Genetic Counseling, because that's really the point of how do I live well with this diagnosis. So reach out to me. I'd love to talk. Yeah, that's me. I'll put my information in the chat.
I like that. Thank you. And then Ms. Smith, you have a question?
Actually, also a provider. Just wanted to be able to actually speak up to Fatima. You did an excellent job explaining something that's very complicated. So kudos. You should not have been nervous at all with that. You did a great job. I just want to say we at Work Opportunities are basically in Anne Arundel County. We have a little bit of services that we're also offering across the bridge into Queen Anne's County and the southernmost part of Baltimore County. And we do supported employment. We do job development. We also are doing virtual CDS. That's the brochure that I'm actually dropping into the chat right now that has our contact information on there. And we would love to be able to talk more. We are currently working with the coordinating center. So we do have at least one consumer with you now, but it would be great to be able to have more. And we're doing both SDS and traditional services. Thank you.
And one more thing to the providers, if you guys service individuals under family supports waiver, kindly let us know too, because we do have participants who need family supports waivers. Unfortunately, most providers we see do only community pathway and community supports. We would definitely want to keep your information for participants who are on the family supports waiver.
And just in case someone's not familiar with what that waiver is, Fatima, do you mind?
Oh, okay. So family supports waivers are the individuals who are minors and DDA approved them to receive DDA services. So those ones goes on the family supports waiver. So
And that is
yeah.
a very small waiver.
Yes.
And you have to be invited to apply for it. But that also means that you're already on the wait list to receive services as a minor.
Yeah, we No Place Like Home, we offer services to individuals under 21, respite and personal support services. We've had some real success with it. So our information is in the chat. We can talk about it if you have people who are available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is one hand raised.
Oh, okay, that's me. Hello, everybody. Sorry I joined a bit late. I work overnight and I had to catch some sleep before I go out again. I'm from Summit Healthcare Resources. We are very, very new, and we're still looking for our first client. So I don't know if probably what I want to ask has been treated before. So, but the question I would really want to ask is how do we really get client? Because like somebody gave me that sheet where that contains various phone calls, and I've been doing all the callings, but nobody really picked the call. So I don't know if there is another approach that I can implement so that I can really talk to the CCS so that we can get clients.
So CCSs, I like to put that rule of thumb out. We cannot push a provider. It is person-centered. So a family, loved one, person being supported, they have to have options to choose. So are you on the DDA provider website?
Yes.
That's what you need to do. And then maybe just like you're doing right now, introducing yourself and your agency to platforms such as these and emailing the different CCS agencies brochures, not just your name and what you do is
I will be doing, I'll be pushing that out. My daughter to work for me. So she's been really doing that too, but it has been very, very slow.
And it may be a good idea to see if you can reach out to whoever you're connected to at the region about transition youth fairs to attend those. That's another opportunity for you to meet prospective individuals to serve. And then, you know, once you start to serve one, that gets around and then someone else is referred.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, really, to get the first one in. Then I know anything after that will become much easier for us.
Yes, exactly. So wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
No problem at all.
All right, thanks.
I'll take a last final question from the audience before we wrap up. Heidi, anything in your chat?
No.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to say thank you for attending and spreading the word about this platform. Again, it's not just for our clients or providers that we work with. It's also for anyone who just want more information about DDA and DDA processes and services and things like that. And then we want to also just want to make sure that we are appealing to the audience interest. So as you are completing that registration form for your Zoom links, if you can always include what you would like to hear. We kind of go through it and pick out some of the major themes and try to gear our presentations around that, just to make sure that you are informed and you can support those who, you know, it's applicable to. If there are no other questions or concerns, myself, Fatima, and Sharon will be the last ones to log off, just in case someone's a little more shy. And then everyone else can go ahead. It's Friday. I hope that everyone enjoy their weekend. Have a safe one.
Bye.
Thanks so much. You guys too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay. Heidi, we can go ahead and end. I'm gonna just assume all these people are muted, that they may have just stepped away.
Oh, I can't see them.